Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including my ride in the Tesla Robotaxi, all the hidden details coming out there, Model Y Juniper leaks, huge 0% financing deals for Tesla's current cars, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla held their We Robot event 2 days ago. For those that were there, it was a pretty great experience, but the response to the event has been quite mixed. For some, this is just another empty promise from Elon, showing off or promising a future that isn't actually possible. Tesla did this at a controlled environment at a movie studio, so it truly is the definition of smoke and mirrors. To others, this is an incredibly exciting look at where we're headed, and it's fast approaching. I think for most people actively using the latest versions of FSD, they can see how Tesla could potentially pull this off in time. And to me, I think the first places we'll see that are in geofenced areas. That brings us to the various details about this product disclosed by Elon and employees at the event. But first, here's my actual ride in the Cybercab.
Walking up to the Robotaxi is already pretty awesome and feels like the future. And then those big doors actually make it really easy to get into this car, even though it is quite low to the ground. But then right away you notice it's kind of like a Model 3 interior inside. It's just there's no steering wheel and there's no pedals. Also, the window controls are right in the middle there. Regardless of how much you doubt this, it is very cool to just experience the future right here, even though it's kind of also like a theme park ride. This somewhat felt like a Disneyland ride. So we took our journey over to Westworld, and there's a little light overhead. And really, this felt incredibly smooth. Tesla has done test drives with prototypes in the past, but in this case, it felt a lot more put together. This really felt fleshed out, and especially the software on screen, it was really smooth. Of course, this isn't going to be the production software, and this was designed especially for this event, but it was all very good. And here we can see it going through this whole Tesla light show, which is somewhat of a demo also that it's not getting confused by all of these flashing lights. It's able to figure out this scenario at night. Overhead there is the sun visor, and at least for the prototype, there's no mirrors or anything in there. But rounding corners and everything and speeding up was all incredibly smooth. If you've experienced full self-driving in a Tesla, you experience that a lot of the time it is very smooth, but other times it's not, and they definitely optimize this whole ride. Here we're following a totally self-driving Model Y, which is kind of Tesla's future vision here. And then on screen, they had different entertainment options to show you what it's going to be like. In the future, if they can achieve this, it will be like you're just driving along, you're in your Robotaxi, and you choose from the various entertainment on screen, or check out your route and how much longer is on your trip. It's funny because as someone who does use full self-driving a lot, we've experienced this before. But it's a whole nother level to look down and not see any steering wheel at all. You don't know what it's about to do. You don't know how much it's turning. You don't really know anything. It's just completely doing it. But one of the most impressive things I thought was how much these Robotaxis and Model Ys were overtaking one another and then pulling off very easily and very effectively to the side of the road to let people out or let people back in. The exact boarding spot was changing throughout the night because there were so many cars making this loop, 20 Robotaxis and 30 Model Ys. But it did a really great job figuring that out in each case, and as far as we know, there were no accidents whatsoever, even with people completely roaming this lot constantly that could have jumped in front of cars. So yes, this took place at a movie studio, but Tesla pulled it off incredibly well.
As far as specs for the Robotaxi, we basically know nothing. It's likely that Tesla doesn't have much dialed in there, and really they just needed large enough battery packs to handle these demo rides. What we do know though is that Tesla made all 20 of these Robotaxi prototypes at their design studio in Hawthorne. So these definitely were not made using their unboxed assembly process, and it makes sense that they would dial that process in towards true production come 2026, or as Elon put it, before 2027, if they get there. The color of the Robotaxi is actually a satin finish gold. While many videos make it look stainless steel like the Cybertruck, the color is actually gold, which they see as a futuristic yellow, taking a yellow cab into the future. These prototypes are made of composite and are wrapped, so the Robotaxi is not going to be painted. Likely Tesla has learned from the Cybertruck and likes eliminating that part of the process. Instead of wrapping the composite for the future though, they are looking into RIM, or reaction injection molding. That would allow them to eliminate paint while possibly bringing down cost. At the same time, it's clear that they can't form stainless steel into the shape of this car, so composite will be the material. Around back, some customers got a good look at the Robotaxi's trunk space. Tesla shared a photo of this online, but it does offer a lot of space, especially for such a small two-seater. Here's a look at that trunk in person. Of course, it's a powered tailgate and then provides a ton of space completely separate from the cabin. Interestingly, since it's not really needed, there is no rear window out the back of the Robotaxi. This is almost similar to the Cybertruck in that way, although you can see out of the back with the tonneau open on the Cybertruck. On top of this would be a frunk, but that could end up quite small in practice, depending on how this car is engineered. As for charging, the Robotaxi does not even have a charge port. This is somewhat like Apple removing the headphone jack, and will require a lot of infrastructure for Tesla to properly implement. It will mean that anywhere this car launches and expects to operate, customers or Tesla superchargers have wireless inductive charging pads. As expected, this car only has cameras and an AI-5 computer, but Elon Musk did detail that they plan to give this more computing power than it needs, so that when not doing rides, it can be used as an AI compute server. For this prototype, the front wheels are 18 inches, while the rear wheels are 21. That will be interesting to see in practice as to how that contributes to important Robotaxi things like ride quality and efficiency. It could be something that looks great but doesn't ship, but we'll see. Inside, there were a couple interesting details, like window switches located in the center console, 2 USB-C ports, and 2 cup holders. There are sun visors, a single overhead light, and then a massive 22-inch display. The interior engineers said it's 22 inches, although I've seen others say it's 20.5 inches. In any case, they went with one single display that will control the ride, and as you saw, they had it properly set up to choose your destination and take your ride. Then, of course, there will be entertainment available on screen, but if each passenger wants their own entertainment, Tesla is working on splitting that 22-inch display to give each customer their own option that can sync to their own device or headphones. As for price, they want to get this under $30,000, but of course, we've heard similar things before, so many are skeptical. Then, of course, all of this depends on regulatory approval. Tesla is planning to launch unsupervised FSD in 2025 for the Model 3 and Y, among their other cars in California and Texas. If they can achieve that, it will be somewhat of a geo-fenced version of FSD, which makes a lot of sense for its initial rollout. Then they can expand from there and be ready to launch the dedicated Robotaxi that has no backup steering wheel, pedals, mirrors, or anything. As for the FSD technology on this, the Robotaxi does indeed have a front bumper camera, which makes many question the future functionality of the current hardware 4 cars shipping with no front camera. One more note on the geo-fenced areas, apparently Tesla is planning to make Robotaxi rides available between Dallas and Austin completely autonomously as a first goal. Next came the Robovan, and of course, details were sparse there. Elon actually called this the Robovan, but some were excited and others were disappointed by this. Some were disappointed that Tesla didn't unveil a drivable, sellable to average customers van based on the Cybertruck. A large SUV or van is a popular vehicle type, and there aren't too many great options out there that are electric, so this could be a great product. However, this was a robot event, so Tesla really showed the future of autonomous transport with more of a bus. This is a vehicle that can seat up to 20, but for the prototype they had 14 seats installed. Overall, it's a pretty crazy design, but comes straight out of Art Deco design, enabled since it's fully autonomous. To me, the front of this actually looks an awful lot like the Iron Man Mark I helmet. Around back, it's similarly very cool and extremely rounded. This is them showing off where self-driving goes from here, with transport at events and cities and more that doesn't need a driver and can be fully optimized. Lastly for the event was Optimus, which was walking around interacting with people, serving drinks and more. Here's me receiving a drink from Optimus. Overall, it did a really incredible job, and you can see the dexterity in the hands. It wasn't perfect, but you could talk with it. I will say that the talking and interaction was so good to the point where I'm pretty sure Tesla had people remote operating these. It made for a great demo of where the future could go from here, though. Overall, this was Tesla's vision of the future, but it leaves a lot of questions. What are the real specs of the Robotaxi? When will it actually come out? Will they actually solve FSD? In order for any of this to release, FSD does have to be solved, so it makes sense that people are skeptical. One thing a few engineers did hint at, though, is that the Robotaxi is built on their entirely new platform, separate from any cars they currently make. So we very well could still see a future vehicle built on this platform as Tesla works to get autonomy approved on a large scale. Next up today, while Tesla's Robotaxi and Robovan are dominating the news cycle right now, what Tesla really wants people to know is that you can buy a Tesla with their full self-driving supervised technology today. Not only was the Cybercab roaming the lot at Warner Brothers, but so were many driverless Model Ys, showcasing the fact that Tesla plans to deliver that functionality to cars already on the road today, cars that you can buy. As such, Tesla has a new incentive that might be one of their best yet. If you purchase a Model 3 or Model Y and add on the $8,000 FSD package to your order, Tesla will give you 0% APR financing. Currently, interest rates from Tesla are starting at 5.29%. However, once you click on FSD, you'll quickly see that number drop down to 0%. As always with interest rates, many don't fully understand just how much it affects your monthly payment. In this case, it's thousands of dollars. So even though you have to add an $8,000 upgrade to your car to receive this discount, it can still be a great deal. Especially if you wanted this package, it makes it quite affordable compared to buying it with interest. With that said, to get the full 0%, you have to do term lengths of 72 months or lower and put at least 15% down. You may notice that when you turn off the tax credit and estimated savings, it changes over to 0.99% APR, and that's because the tax credit helps take 7% down up to 15% down. In any case, if you qualify for the tax credit, you're looking at paying about $568 per month for a long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y. By adding FSD though, and thus dropping interest to 0%, that updates to $596 per month, about $28 more per month to have FSD, which is a good deal cheaper than subscribing to it for $99 per month. And in this case, you actually own it. Similarly, for the Model 3, if you qualify for the tax credit, you're looking at $527 a month for a long-range rear-wheel drive. Add FSD, however, and you'll see 0%, making it $561 per month. Still more expensive, but a great deal compared to buying FSD and paying for interest. To many, this is a great way to buy into Tesla's vision of the future and drive their latest self-driving technology, which is incredibly impressive. It was pretty cool to have this package drive me to and from this event. This deal stacks on top of inventory discounts available right now. For example, near me there is a long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y marked down from $44,990 to $42,740. Then there is $1,000 off if you use someone's referral link. So if these deals interest you, here would be your procedure. Track down a referral link, click it, head to Tesla's inventory page, track down the car you want. You'll see that $1,000 off applied. Furthermore, you'll see the discounted inventory price, and then by adding FSD, it gives you 0% APR with the right down payment. One last thing to note is that if you put down less than 15%, you'll still get a 0.99% interest rate, much better than 5.29%. Lastly, if you don't want to upgrade to FSD, normal interest rates with $0 due at signing is available. This is the latest incentives Tesla is offering as we approach the end of the year, and we'll see what else they plan to release from here. This one seems particularly pointed at people who watched this event and want to experience full self-driving. I used to highly recommend customers don't buy FSD, but that was when it was about $15,000 and wasn't too usable. Today, I have FSD driving me in most scenarios. It's not perfect, but it's incredibly good. It takes the stress out of most drives and is a very exciting look at the future. For the first time, I can't picture myself buying a future car that doesn't have this technology, and once you experience it fully, you may feel similar. This could be a great deal for you, but of course, always remember not to buy software with the promise of future features. If you are only buying FSD for what it should deliver next year, you may find that promise delayed, as often is the case with Tesla's FSD. Part of these incentives, while driving customers to buy full self-driving, also are driving customers to buy a car that is on the cusp of a refresh. Some were expecting Tesla to show us a drivable car last night or show us the updated Juniper Model Y, but instead they told us nothing, and a photo of one testing out in Spain leaked online. The Juniper Model Y has leaked in a couple ways, and first we're expecting it to receive all the latest features Tesla now delivers on the Model 3. That's an update to the front and rear, a completely revamped, nicer interior, quieter, smoother ride, rear screen, ventilated seats, and more. Then Tesla appears to be making a couple special changes to the Model Y, and this latest sighting confirms one change. Around back, a full light bar for the Model Y leaked, showing us a change from the refreshed Model 3. But this also showed us that the rear license plate would be dropped lower. Here's a great render of how this is expected to look, and with the latest leak on public roads, that license plate is indeed sitting exactly where we're expecting. This opens the hood up and really changes the way that this car looks, even while being a subtle change. The location of this sighting is particularly interesting since previously we've seen this car testing in the US. For the Model Y, since it's Tesla's best-selling car, they'll likely want to coordinate its release simultaneously out of all 4 factories that make it. So while we've likely seen Fremont builds in California, this could be our first sighting of one built in Berlin. That factory is very close to Spain, so it would make the most sense that it was made there. Soon enough, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Juniper Model Y prototypes popping up in Shanghai, as well as Texas, as those factories need to get this properly updated as well. Regardless, this is a great sign that this car is coming around the corner. Most are expecting that Tesla will release this as soon as possible in 2025, and that it will immediately create a lot of demand for people waiting for this refresh. Of course, there are always deals, and sometimes you just need a car right now, but the refresh will likely be a big upgrade as well, so it may be well worth the wait for some. Next up today, one huge perk of owning an electric vehicle, especially a Tesla, is that maintenance costs are way lower than gasoline equivalents. There are fewer mechanical parts, and no engine means no oil changes. As further evidence of this, Consumer Reports has released a comparison of the cheapest brands to maintain long-term. For a while, Teslas have been topping lists like these, and once again, they have come out number 1. The survey, quote, asked members how much they paid out of pocket for maintenance and repairs during the previous 12 months. Then the data is divided between vehicles that are between 1 and 5 years old, and vehicles that are 6 to 10 years old. Among the most expensive to maintain and repair are, as you might expect, luxury brands like Mercedes, Porsche, and Land Rover. Land Rover takes the cake at an average of $4,250 per year for newer vehicles, and a whopping $15,000 for older vehicles. Of course, another trend in this survey is that older vehicles cost a lot more to maintain. Even Tesla, the least expensive brand to maintain, is almost 6 times more expensive to maintain in the 6 to 10 year category. Tesla vehicles between 1 and 5 years old only cost customers an average of $580 in that year. That's a little over half as much as the next most affordable brand, Buick, at $900. Tesla is beating out a lot of brands here that are offering EVs at a comparable price like Ford, Hyundai, and Kia. This survey doesn't distinguish between EVs and gasoline vehicles per brand though, so that data may be skewed a bit. I would be curious to see another EV-specific list. Unfortunately, other EV brands like Rivian and Lucid are missing from this list as well. That could simply be because those brands are still growing and there may simply not be enough Rivian and Lucid owners to survey. Since this survey does include out-of-pocket repairs as well, it puts some worries to rest about how expensive Tesla repairs in particular can be. This data could be indicating that those notoriously high repair costs are starting to come down as Tesla vehicles become more popular and more service centers are built. Overall, it's great to see more evidence that Teslas are some of the most affordable vehicles to maintain overall. When it comes to switching over from gasoline and electric vehicles, there are several factors that are holding a lot of customers back. The one I hear the most often is driving range. Even though there are a lot of affordable EVs on the market, now with over 250 miles of driving range, many potential customers want to see that number higher before they consider making the switch. For comparison, the average new non-hybrid Honda Civic gets about 34 miles per gallon and has a 12.4-gallon gas tank, translating to a 421-mile range. While there are EVs that nearly achieve that, they are generally twice as much as a Civic. There are several companies working to close the gap, and I have a whole video on upcoming battery tech if you're curious, and that's linked in the description below. Recently though, one company in particular managed to almost double the Model S's range. One, or Our Next Energy, is a company based in Michigan that has used their own battery management and control systems to replace the battery pack in an unmodified Tesla Model S P100. They call the battery Gemini, and it's the same size as the Model S's original battery pack. This test Model S was reportedly driven 752 miles, basically from the south end of Michigan up the entire length of the state and back. They traveled mostly on highways, and their average speed was around 55 miles per hour, so it's important to take that into account here. Though the drivers did stop to take breaks, the car was not charged for that entire 752-mile trip. This appears to have been a cold weather test, and one says the battery stayed around 32 degrees and required no active cooling for the entire drive. What's doubly impressive is that this was real-world range. When the Model S got back to their headquarters in southern Michigan, they recharged the battery at 200 kilowatts and tested it again to get an even higher range. This time it was driven, quote, to a third-party dyno facility, where it was put through a simulated 20% urban dynamometer driving schedule, or UDDS, and highway fuel economy test, or HWFET, drive cycles and 80% driving at a constant 55 miles per hour. In this facility, they observed about the same watt-hours per mile consumption as the real-world test, and the pack was able to achieve an astounding 882 miles of range. That's 17% higher than their initial tests. This is similar to what we've seen in the past when it comes to comparing Tesla's EPA ranges to the real-world ranges, though these percentages have fluctuated a lot over the years and gotten much better recently. The most exciting part of all of this, though, is that this battery is made of the same materials that are currently used in Tesla's battery packs. According to the president and CEO of One, quote, the production intent Gemini battery will be LFP for the traction battery portion, and a new cell One is designing for the range extender without cobalt, nickel, and graphite. He went on to say that these cells were still experimental and didn't comment on the weight of each cell, but he did say they, quote, had a total of 203.7 kilowatt hours at a system level. The original Tesla battery pack was 103.9 kilowatt hours, so they managed to almost double that capacity in about the same amount of space. Seeing as additional weight would usually decrease efficiency, it must not be too much heavier here. The practical application of this would actually not be to double the range of the Model S, which already has one of the highest EV ranges on the market. It would be to increase the range of more affordable EVs so that they can better compete against their gasoline counterparts. Quote, the one Gemini battery aims to eliminate range as a barrier to electric vehicle adoption by doubling the available energy on board in the same package space. While expanding charging infrastructure is important, and many would argue that's the only thing we need, EVs do need to be able to perform well with range, and a lot of customers do want more than we're seeing today. So a technology like this could be what gets us there. At the same time, one is, quote, currently developing a proprietary range extender cell, which deletes the graphite materials used in conventional anodes and contributing to a significant reduction in cost. But how likely is it that this tech will actually reach the market? The company says that they plan to start production on the Gemini battery pack by 2026. While they haven't released any information on cost, they did say that they expect it to be about the same as nickel-cobalt-based lithium batteries, but without the use of cobalt. They're currently working on a new cathode material that can be sourced at less than 1/10 the cost of batteries currently on the market. If these savings are accurate, EV makers are definitely going to jump on the opportunity to utilize these cells or borrow this tech. This could be the breakthrough that finally makes EV manufacturing profitable for a lot of automakers. In the next couple years, we could see a huge increase in the popularity of EVs as their ranges increase and prices decrease at the same time. But of course, we always have to take this with a grain of salt. Not only is this only tested in a lab at this point, but they have to scale it up for real production. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see my initial coverage from Tesla's Robotaxi event, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.